Today, I will present to you a rather peculiar story, exploring what could have happened if Superman had landed in the Soviet Union instead of the United States. The movie opens by introducing us to a young child being pursued by some unpleasant bullies. Just as they were about to harm him, he reaches his friend and she swiftly defeats the bullies. The girl encourages her friend to stand up for himself. He reveals that he didn't actually want to fight them, fearing he might cause harm. Over the past few weeks, he has discovered that he possesses superhuman abilities. However, the skeptical child remains unconvinced until he demonstrates his powers. First, he effortlessly lifts a heavy tractor, then takes her on a thrilling flight. Witnessing his extraordinary abilities, she suggests that he should use his powers to serve their country. It is at this point we learn that they reside in the Soviet Union, now known as Russia. Years later, we observe the young boy transformed into Superman, defending his country against its adversaries. His mission is to propagate the ideals of the Soviet Union to the rest of the world. This development catches the attention of the Americans, who fear losing their global dominance to the Russians due to the superhuman abilities of this communist hero. The Americans take it upon themselves to handle Superman, while the Russian powerhouse realizes that a satellite is on a collision course with Metropolis. He swiftly flies to the United States, determined to prevent the impending disaster. There, he reassures the Americans that he is not their enemy but a protector of his own nation's principles. During this encounter, Lois, the wife of Luthor, emerges and requests an interview with Superman for the newspaper where she works. During the report, the Russian hero reveals to the journalist that his powers awakened when he was 12 years old, and that's when he discovered his true extraterrestrial origin from the planet Krypton. On the other hand, Lois informs Superman that the Soviets aren't as virtuous as they claim to be. She presents him with a secret file detailing the Russian government's involvement in covert crimes against its opponents. While the information is true, Lois has ulterior motives, intending to manipulate Superman against the Soviets. The cunning strategy of the wealthy businessman succeeds as the superhero returns to his country and visits the secret government prison. He witnesses numerous enslaved prisoners, including his childhood friend, who is nearing the end of her life due to years of captivity. In her dying moments, she confesses to Superman that they imprisoned her for knowing his true identity. She implores him to save the people from the tyranny of the government. Deeply angered, Superman releases the prisoners and heads to the Russian president's palace to demand answers. In the president's office, Superman confronts him about the sinister tactics employed to spread Soviet ideals worldwide, including the elimination of dissenters. Enraged by these appalling words, Superman vaporizes the politician's mustache with his laser vision. At that moment, army officers enter the office and, witnessing what transpired, they bow before Superman, accepting him as the new leader of the country. As time passes, we witness the transformation of the once virtuous hero into a more authoritarian figure reminiscent of the previous president. He intervenes in wars of other states to gain allies for his cause and expand the dominance of the Soviet Union. Eventually, an alliance is established with Wonder Woman's country, and a celebration is organized to mark the agreement. However, the communist hero advances towards Wonder Woman and in embarrassment as she rejects him, revealing her preference for women. Meanwhile, Lex Luthor utilizes the traces left by the Russian hero on the fallen satellite in Metropolis to create a highly embarrassing clone of Superman. As we witnessed earlier, this is all part of Luthor's plan to eliminate the Soviet Superman. The original Superman swiftly heads to Russia to confront his communist doppelganger in an epic battle. However, the true Superman demonstrates his strength and superiority, defeating the imposter and asserting himself as the most powerful being in the universe. As a result, the tremendous surge of energy causes the American Superman to undergo a horrifying transformation, turning him into a grotesque mutant. The energy injected into the clone by the unfortunate businessman ultimately disfigures him to the point of vanishing entirely. Months later, a terrifying alien android named Brachia invades Russia, reducing several cities to miniature versions. Superman intervenes and defeats the machine using his immense strength. However, it becomes apparent that the morally compromised superhero utilizes the alien to manipulate the minds of dissidents by implanting control devices in their heads. In response, a Russian counterpart of Batman emerges and rebels against the tyrannical Soviet leader. Engaging in attacks throughout the city, this Batman inadvertently causes the deaths of hundreds of innocent inhabitants. Meanwhile, Lex Luthor, who continues to struggle with hair problems, presents the president of his country with an alien Green Lantern that he discovered weeks ago, which had crashed on Earth. Through the bald billionaire's research, Luthor learns that these beings possess powerful green rings capable of combating Superman. Consequently, the president assigns Colonel Jordan the task of creating the Green Lantern Corps, with the objective of training soldiers capable of harnessing the powers of the rings. Back in Russia, Batman kidnaps Wonder Woman in an attempt to lure Superman and incapacitates the vigilante using the lasso of truth, preventing her from utilizing her powers. When the Soviet hero learns of this, he swiftly rescues her. However, Batman utilizes a force field reminiscent of Krypton's red sun, completely weakening Superman. Taking advantage of the situation, Batman brutally assaults Superman and locks him away in a desperate basement. Wonder Woman activates her Fury mode, breaking free from the bonds of truth, and destroys the infrared lights with shattered lamps. Superman regains his powers and escapes from the basement, while Wonder Woman suffers significant injuries from the energy expenditure. Now freed, the powerful tyrant prepares to pass judgment on Batman. However, before he can do so, Batman is lobotomized, leading to his self-inflicted demise. Additionally, Wonder Woman becomes disillusioned with the insatiable thirst for power displayed by men and breaks her alliance with Superman. She firmly asserts that she will never condone his methods of control, emphasizing that freedom and ideals cannot be imposed through force. After a few years, Lex Luthor becomes the President of the United States and sends Colonel Jordan with his team of Green Lanterns to capture Superman, who is losing his influence in the world. The Green Lantern Corps employs their rings to trap the powerful Soviet hero within a cube. However, Wonder Woman arrives with her powers restored and frees Superman, attempting to achieve peace between the Russians and Americans. Despite her efforts, Superman, disillusioned, refuses her plea and throws a punch at her. Wonder Woman effortlessly parries the blow and, disillusioned herself, forbids all men from entering her nation. Superman disregards this, showing no concern, and takes advantage of the moment when the heroine leaves to crush the Green Lanterns. He then joins forces with the androids he had previously created and flies to the United States to settle scores with Luthor. Upon his arrival, Superman encounters Lois, who shows him a miniature city representing his acts of domination. She explains that Luthor intends to imprison all cities until his will is fulfilled. Realizing the extent of his descent into becoming a dictatorial figure while searching for his idea of a better world, Superman decides to make amends for his mistakes and relinquishes his power. It was about time. Goodness. Seizing the opportunity, the treacherous Breakneck destroys the miniature city and confesses to Superman that he allowed himself to be captured to manipulate him and dominate the world. The two engage in a fierce battle, with Luthor wearing a special suit to aid the Soviet hero. They fight against the formidable android, attempting to penetrate its force field. Despite the powerful nature of the villainous robot, Superman and Luthor team up and Luthor places a device on the ship that weakens the android's armor. Thanks to this, Superman overcomes the ship and destroys the evil robot, tearing off its neck. However, things become complicated as the ship's self-destruction mechanism is activated. As a true hero, Superman sacrifices himself and takes the machine into space to prevent it from exploding on Earth. This act reminds him of his childhood friend's words about using his power to protect the world. Suddenly, the ship explodes and Superman appears to have perished. Meanwhile, Luthor, now the president, performs a grand act where he announces the end of his presidency and agrees to a cooperative alliance with the Soviet Union. However, what is truly remarkable is that amidst the event, it is revealed that Superman survived the explosion and is now posing as a reporter to conceal his true identity. This way, he will always be ready to protect the world. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more interesting movies.